This lesson is on section 4.1. It is associated with assignment number 22 in my math lab. We're going to be looking at inverse functions. Today you're going to be given a relation. First you're going to be given a relation in the set of ordered pairs. If you have a set of ordered pairs, to find the inverse of that relation, you're simply going to interchange the x and the y. So now, if that's the case, my inverse will be the reversal of these first points. Instead of 2, 5, I'll have 0.52. In place of section 1, 4, I'll have 0.4, negative 1. And in place of section 3, negative 2, I'll have -2, 3. Now remember, if you're given a set of ordered pairs and you're looking for an inverse, you're going to interchange x and y. Secondly, you're going to be given an equation. Now if you're given an equation, again, to find its inverse, you're going to interchange x and y. So if I have y equals 2x minus 4, interchange, that'll be x equals 2y minus 4. We don't solve, we don't change the order or anything, that's all we do. In B, notice you have three variables, you're going to interchange all of them. So x will become y, x will become y, y squared will become x squared. Now in this case you might want to just rewrite it so that this term yx squared will be alphabetical order. If so, I'll have y equals x squared y minus 1. That's completely up to you. Problem C, x cubed y equals 7. Let's interchange. We'll have y cubed x equals 7. Or you can rewrite it x y cubed equals 7. Again, to find an inverse relation, you're simply interchanging x and y. Now, as we look at problem number 3, this one deals with a graph. You're given the equation y equals 3x plus 1. Of course, we know that's a linear equation and we're asked to graph it. There's several ways to do this, but for our purposes, we're going to just do a t-chart and make some substitutions. If I substitute x into this 0, 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1 would be 1 for y. Let's try 1 for x. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 would be 4 for y. Now let's put in a negative number. That's going to give us 3 times -1 plus 1, or -3 plus 1, or -2, which is going to be y. Now we're going to go over to our graph and we're going to find these points. There's 0, 1, 1, 4, and -1, -2. Now take your straight edge, and there's our graph of y equals 3x plus 1. Now, secondly, it asks us to find an equation for the inverse. Now remember, we did this up above in number 2. You're going to interchange x and y. So instead of y equal, I'll have x equal. In place of 3x, I'll have 3y plus 1. That's my equation for my inverse. Then it asks us to graph it. Now we don't need to find new points because we'll use the points that we have above, remember, and just interchange x and y. 0, 1 will become 1, 0. 1, 4 will become 4, 1. And -1, -2 will become -2, -1. Now we're going to take these points, 1, 0, put them on a graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and -2, -1. Now again, with my ruler, I'm going to sketch that. That's the graph of our inverse, x equals 3y plus 1. Now it asks you to do one other thing, and that's just for observation. Graph the line y equals x. Remember, this line bisects quadrants 1 and quadrant 3, and just in what it says, your x and your y points are equal. So that would be 0.11, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and so on. Now you're going to see something happen that will happen with all of your inverse functions here. When you graph that, your other points are located such that they're the same distance from that line. For example, that's 1 unit away, and so is its mate point. This is 1 unit away, so is its matching point. Okay, and you see how this is happening all along. Here we go, 3 units away, 3 units away. All right. Now one more section. We're going to look at one-to-one. By definition, a function is one-to-one if its inverse is also a function. Remember, we have a vertical line test to decide if we have a function. Now, we're going to have a horizontal line test. The horizontal line test is used to decide if the graph of the inverse of a function is also a function, which is said to be one-to-one. Now let's take a look. Using graphs, you'll notice in A, if you apply the vertical line test, that graph itself is a function. Now if I apply the horizontal line test, it touches one time, which means that the inverse of this graph is also a function, or one-to-one. For B, vertical line test says I have a function. Now if I apply the horizontal line test, I touch 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. This is not, or in other words, the inverse of this function, if you graphed it, would not be a function. It is not one-to-one. Problem C, vertical line test, we have a function. Horizontal line test touches 1 time, 2 times, which means if we graph the inverse of this function, it would not be a function. It's not one-to-one. D, vertical line test, the graph itself is a function. Horizontal line test, it touches 1 time. If we graphed this function's inverse, it would be a function. It would be one-to-one. Now remember, these notes are associated with lesson number 22 in college algebra.